The heat that day was something else, heavy, sticky, as if the very air of Los Angeles was testing the patience of anyone who dared step outside. The asphalt was breathing waves of heat, cars hummed with exhaustion, and even the air conditioners in buildings sounded angry. People moved slowly, as if the atmosphere had thickened, and each step required more effort than it should. Through the shimmering air, a polished black Chevrolet Suburban turned into a small pharmacy parking lot. A tall, broad-shouldered man stepped out. His movements were precise, measured, as if guided by some invisible military protocol. He was dressed casually, dark jeans, a white t-shirt, sunglasses. On his wrist, a SEAL Team 6 engraved watch. He didn't try to stand out, yet somehow, he did. This was Jonathan Marshall, a man whose name was known in elite military circles, but whose story remained unknown to the public. Not because it didn't matter. On the contrary, he was one of the most valued special operatives. His biography was classified. His missions, off the books. He had rescued hostages, eliminated high-value targets, and walked out of missions labeled suicide by others. But today, he wasn't a warrior. He was a son trying to get painkillers for his sick mother. He walked toward the pharmacy with a steady, controlled pace. He had long since mastered the art of not projecting strength unless necessary. They taught him how to be a shadow, unnoticed, swift, deadly, but more than anything, they taught him discipline. That was what set him apart. Not his strength or his gun, his will. Inside the pharmacy, cool air greeted him, calm. He quickly found what he needed, showed the prescription, paid, and was ready to leave when he felt it. The gaze. Not just a glance, a sharp, penetrating stare. The kind he had felt in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Somalia. The one that meant, you were being watched. He didn't turn around immediately, just slowed slightly. He adjusted his sunglasses, a trained move, and in the reflection of the glass door, he saw them. A police cruiser, 2 officers, one already speaking into his radio, the other watching him with a predator's focus. Here we go, Jonathan thought, his jaw tightening. He walked out with the prescription bag in hand and headed toward his car. Slowly, not out of fear, out of calculated control. He heard the radio crackle. He noticed the officer moving toward him. He knew the ritual. He'd been stopped more times than he could count for fitting the description, for looking out of place, for driving too nice a car. And every time, he started the same way, calm voice, respectful tone, explanation, because he knew one wrong move, one wrong tone, and it wouldn't matter who he was. But today felt different. Today, despite the scars from combat, the medals, the rank, the presidential commendations, he knew he was about to be judged not by merit, but by melanin. He placed a bag of medication on the passenger seat, closed the car door, and slowly turned around. The cruiser had moved closer. One of the officers stepped out, young, white, with a smirk that held no warmth. The second officer stayed by the car, his hand already near his weapon. "Sir, mind if we ask you a few questions?" It wasn't a request. It was a test. This is it, Jonathan thought. This is where the real battle starts. Not for the country, for dignity, for the right to just exist. He nodded. Slowly, calmly. But inside, everything was tense. Because he knew this story wasn't going to end quietly. "Show me some ID," the young cop barked, skipping even the courtesy of a greeting. His hand rested on his holster like Jonathan was a ticking bomb. Marshall slowly reached into his back pocket and pulled out his wallet. Every movement was deliberate, calculated. He knew one wrong move could get him killed. He handed over his driver's license and military ID, hoping the words Navy SEAL still carried weight, hoping these men had heard of honor, of sacrifice, of duty. But instead of respect, there was only suspicion. The cop narrowed his eyes and squinted at the badge. "A lot of people carry fakes," he scoffed. "Where'd you get this?" "It's real," Jonathan replied calmly. "I served for 20 years, retired. That badge was issued by the United States Navy. You can verify it." But the second officer, the one by the car, had already approached. He snatched the ID from his partner, glanced at it briefly, and then looked at Jonathan with a smirk. "You think we're stupid?" he said. "You don't look like a vet. Too strong, too clean. I've seen the type, fake badges, big stories, just trying to impress someone." "I'm not trying to impress anyone. I just picked up medicine for my mother," Jonathan answered, his voice still calm. "Oh yeah, and that car yours too?" The younger officer motioned toward the Suburban. "Or did you jack it?" Jonathan said nothing. He simply looked at them, not aggressively, but with a stare that made both officers look away for a split second. Silence, his final shield. But they took silence as defiance. Turn around, hands on the hood, the older cop ordered. On what grounds? For the first time, there was steel in Jonathan's voice. Suspicion of vehicle theft and fake identification. The officer replied coldly, "That's all we need to search you." "Then you better call backup and turn on your body cams," Jonathan said quietly, "because after this, you'll be explaining yourselves, not to me, to someone a lot higher up." It was a moment, a razor-thin line between control and escalation. But the officers didn't care. They grabbed his shoulders, rough, not like a suspect, like an enemy, slammed him onto the hood, yanked his arms back. The cuffs clicked. He didn't resist, but he felt the eyes of bystanders, phones coming out, cameras rolling. A strong, calm black man, now in cuffs. "Hope your mama makes it," one of the officers whispered in his ear. And for the first time in years, Jonathan's fingers trembled. He didn't break, but inside, he was on fire, not from fear, from shame, from the rage kept in check by sheer force of will. He had survived war, but this was worse, because it was happening not on a battlefield, but at home, for being black. Before we continue, let's take a short pause. Tell us in the comments where you're listening from, and if you or someone you know has ever experienced something similar. Your stories matter. If these kinds of stories resonate with you, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. We continue. Marshall sat on the cold pavement, his back against the squad car, the handcuffs still bit into his wrists. He remained silent. A small crowd had gathered, some filming, others just staring, faces full of indifference, curiosity, judgment. Not one hand reached out. The senior officer was on the radio, running the plate. The younger one stood guard, watching Jonathan like he was a bomb about to go off. "Be glad we didn't slam your face into the ground," he muttered. Jonathan said nothing, but his eyes, no longer afraid, just cold, the cold of war. He knew what came next. "One call, let me make one call," he said quietly, locking eyes with the senior cop. The officer scoffed. "You think this is a movie?" "No, I think you'll have questions after." The officer hesitated, then, reluctantly, handed him a phone. Jonathan dialed. "This is Vice Admiral Barkley." "Who is this?" "Sir, this is Marshall, Jonathan Marshall. Immediate situation. I've been detained, wrongfully. Black man, cuffed, no reason. Newport PD." That night, Captain Marks received an email. No name. No signature. Just one sentence. That wasn't retaliation. That was a warning. There won't be a second. He stared at the screen, feeling the world he knew unraveling. Not by protests. Not by riots. By one man. Jonathan wasn't seeking revenge. He was sending a message. "I see you. I remember. And I am not alone." On the 6th day, everything changed. That morning, Jonathan found a plain white envelope in his mailbox. No stamp. No address. Just a handwritten message. "Trust only the one wearing the gray bracelet." He knew instantly this wasn't random. Someone from the inside. Someone who knew, saw, and was ready to go against the system. That evening, he drove to the abandoned supermarket lot where he had worked at 16. As he waited by his car, a man approached. Mid-30s, ball cap, hands in pockets. On his right wrist, a gray paracord bracelet. "You Jonathan Reed?" The man asked quietly. "You ready to take a risk?" "I already am." "Name's Connor Blaine. Patrol unit. Until yesterday, I thought things were normal. But after what I saw," he paused, "I can't stay silent anymore." There was a pause. Then the voice on the line turned ice cold. "Location? Outside Noble Care Pharmacy, West Street. Don't move. You'll get a call in 5, free in 10. The officer leaned closer, trying to hear, then yanked the phone away. "Who the hell was that?" "You'll find out soon," Jonathan said. 3 minutes passed. Then the radio crackled. "Vehicle check complete. Registered to Jonathan Marshall. Military credentials verified. I repeat, verified. Also, command says release immediately. Direct order. From higher up." The officers exchanged a look. You could feel the shift in the air. "Who are you?" the younger cop asked, removing the cuffs. Jonathan didn't answer, just stared. There was something in his eyes they would never understand. He stood up, brushed off his pants, looked at them as if they no longer existed. "You're lucky," he said softly, "very lucky." He walked away, leaving silence in his wake. And the crowd, they were now staring at the cops, very differently. The next morning in Newport was eerily quiet, but not for long. The video, shot by a bystander, was already viral. The cops restraining the black Navy SEAL, Jonathan's humiliated face, the voice of an officer, "Be glad we didn't put you in the dirt." All of it, crystal clear. All of it tagged #BlackSEAL abused. Within 4 hours, it had reached national news. CNN, NBC, Vice, even Fox, every channel showing clips, all asking the same question: how could this happen to a war hero? Jonathan gave no interviews. He remained silent, and that silence, louder than any outrage. His lawyer issued a short statement. Mr. Marshall is an active duty U.S. Navy SEAL. He will not be making public comments. However, the incident has been referred to federal authorities. Inside the Newport Police Department, chaos. Captain Marks sat in his office, red-faced, sweating. Reports piled in. Questions from City Hall. Calls from the governor. A federal notice from the Pentagon. His hands trembled. "Who the hell is this Marshall?" he barked, slamming his fist on the desk. "Why wasn't this flagged in our system?" "He's classified, sir," a subordinate mumbled. "Direct orders, do not touch, do not disclose." "And the media?" Demanding a press conference. Now. The younger officer, the one who mocked Jonathan, sat in the hallway, pale as death. He'd been called in. He was shaking. Inside, he crumbled. He remembered Jonathan's face. Not the face of a victim. The face of a man trained to kill. Legally, calmly, without a trace. The senior officer tried to maintain composure, but his wife had already received an anonymous letter. "Do you know who your husband humiliated?" "We do." Social media exploded. People posted photos with flags. Demands for justice. Veterans who served with Jonathan posted, "He saved my life, and you treat him like trash?" One tweet alone got 5 million views overnight. Meanwhile, Jonathan sat at home, phone off, complete silence, only the ticking of military clocks in his room, and in his mind, a war zone. He was thinking, remembering, waiting. The system cracked, but he knew the worst was yet to come. 3 days had passed since the video went viral. Newport was no longer the same. Outside the police department, a makeshift memorial had formed. People left flags, candles, photos of Jonathan in uniform. Chalk messages lined the pavement. "He fought for us. Who fights for him?" Spontaneous protests filled the streets. At first, peaceful, then tense. Every new report in the press fueled the fire, especially after the New York Times published an exposé. Humiliation of a hero, what really happened in Newport. It was damning. It pointed to systemic racism, cited anonymous insiders, and resurrected past misconduct cases. One line stuck with everyone. When an officer feels power, he forgets honor. When a hero stays silent, his voice speaks louder than any command. Meanwhile, Jonathan's house remained quiet. He didn't speak to reporters. He watched. He waited. He reviewed files. He had it all: names, records, internal memos, misconduct reports. He'd received them unofficially from old friends, Marines, SEALs, even a few ex-FBI brothers. One of them, Jose Mendez, former sniper, sent a flash drive marked, "Open it only when you're ready to act." Jonathan hadn't opened it yet. Inside the department, tensions rose. The officers split, some loyal to the old way, dominance, impunity. Others, for the first time, began to doubt. One rookie named Kevin whispered, "We messed up. Man, this isn't just a black guy. He's a black SEAL. We touched a legend." "Yeah," muttered the other, "and now we're all in the crosshairs." On day 4, Jonathan left the house. Plain clothes, baseball cap, dark glasses. He didn't go to the police. He didn't go to court. He went to school, his old high school. In the auditorium, students waited. A history teacher, who'd known Jonathan since he was a boy, invited him to speak. Not about the scandal, but about what it meant to be a soldier and a human being. Jonathan took the stage. Silence. "I'm not a victim," he began. "Not a hero. Just someone who swore an oath. Not for the flag. Not for the government. But for the people beside me. For you." He spoke for 20 minutes. Calm. Clear. Honest. The video hit the internet. By morning, Silent Seal speaks and breaks the internet. He handed over a flash drive. Surveillance footage, not the edited version they gave the press. This is the original, with audio. Jonathan plugged it into his laptop, inside his car. The video showed the parking lot stop, but now there was sound. Captain Mark's voice, face down, make him feel it. I don't care if he's a hero, he's still black. Another voice, cameras rolling. I don't care, we'll cover it, do what I said. Jonathan froze. It wasn't just the humiliation. It was premeditated, cold, controlled. There's more, Connor continued. Officer Thompson? He was involved in a similar case 3 years ago. The guy died. They buried it. Name? Kevin Mason. Homeless. Black. Ex-Marine. Ruled it accidental asphyxiation. I don't believe in coincidences anymore. Jonathan exhaled slowly. The system hadn't failed. It worked exactly as designed. The next morning, he sent the video to several journalists, a lawyer, and one encrypted source he trusted. He knew the bomb would drop. But not this fast. Police surrounded his house within 2 hours. Loudspeaker. Jonathan Reed, you are under investigation for possession of classified materials and obstruction of justice. Exit with your hands up. It was a gut punch. They weren't after the truth. They were after the one who uncovered it. Jonathan looked out the window. Connor stood on the corner, in civilian clothes, barely nodded. And in that moment, Jonathan knew he'd started a war, and there was no turning back. Jonathan's house was surrounded. Through the window, he could see police officers in tactical gear forming a semicircle. One held a riot shield. 2 others carried rifles. The tension was electric, buzzing in the air. He stood in the living room, clutching his laptop with Connor's flash drive. His heart thundered. He had 2 choices, surrender or escape. And he knew if he surrendered, the video would vanish, and he would never see freedom again. His phone rang. Jonathan, it's me, Connor. Listen carefully. This isn't a lawful arrest. This is an order from the top. You need to run. Backdoor alley. I've got a car waiting, gray Honda. Keys are in the glove box. You sure? You've got 5 minutes, tops. Jonathan stuffed the flash drive in his pocket, grabbed a bag, and made his way to the kitchen. The back door was ajar. He stepped out. A shadow moved. Stop. Police. Hands in the air. Without thinking, he sprinted through the yard, vaulted the fence, and ran down the alley. Behind him, shouting. A warning shot, but he didn't stop. He reached the car, started it. The engine roared. He sped off, weaving through streets. At an intersection, he swerved toward an old industrial zone. His phone rang again. You need to know. Someone from the channel you sent the video to, they sold you out. They're heading to the server. They're going to erase everything. Who? Doesn't matter. What matters is, we passed a copy. And guess to whom? Who? The National Veterans Civil Rights Committee. Silence. They were ex-soldiers, lawyers, retired judges, and most importantly, people who hadn't forgotten who paid for their freedom. They have your evidence, and they're preparing a public statement. Then his phone exploded with messages. Hundreds, thousands. We stand with you, Jonathan. My sister faced this too. Brother, don't give up. You're not alone. The internet was on fire. Hashtag Justice for Jonathan was trending worldwide. Meanwhile, the police locked down the entire neighborhood. They seized surveillance tapes, questioned neighbors, swept the area. Connor vanished. No replies, no trace. Later reports said he had been suspended for violating department protocols and suspected data leaks. But before that, he had sent one last message, coordinates to a secret storage where old, buried case files were hidden. And Jonathan decided to go there. He drove at night, alone, through the rain, in a world that was no longer safe. But now, he knew, this wasn't just a fight, this was a revolution. Rain pounded the hood as Jonathan arrived at the abandoned warehouse on the city's edge. Everything was still. The wind tossed scraps of paper down the street, like the world itself was bracing for a storm. Connor had sent him this location. He unlocked the gate and stepped inside. It felt like a museum of buried crimes. Dusty boxes, sealed case files, flash drives. One crate read, Internal Offenses, Confidential, 2008 to 2022. He booted up an ancient computer and loaded a hard drive. What he saw shook him to his core. Bodycam footage of brutality, fabricated evidence, deaths labeled accidents. The same officers from his case appeared over and over. This wasn't a mistake. It was a system designed to crush, conceal, and control. He sent part of the files to a civil rights server. Then, with shaking hands, he started a live stream. "Good evening," he began. "My name is Jonathan Wilson. I am a U.S. Navy veteran, and I'm on the run. But I am no criminal. The criminals are those wearing badges and breaking laws they swore to uphold. What you're about to see may cost me my life, but I'm done being silent." He hit play. Split screen. Video footage rolled. Beatings, torture rooms, whispered cries, confessions under threats. 10 minutes in, the internet erupted. YouTube tried throttling. People re-uploaded by the second. Twitter, Facebook, Telegram exploded. Hashtag Truth Unleashed. Hashtag Justice for Jonathan. Hashtag We Want to Be Silent. Within an hour, people were flooding the streets. The first protest sparked outside LAPD headquarters. Signs read, "He's not hiding, he's hunted. We protect our veterans, not punish them. Tell the truth, get chased." What does that say? Police responded fast. Hundreds of riot officers, tear gas. And on live stream, a woman cried, "They're doing it again, on camera, right now." Meanwhile, Jonathan was still at the warehouse. Suddenly, a ping on his screen. Direct message, "They found you. Leave, now." He grabbed the disc with the hardest evidence and ran. His car, gone. Traced. On foot now. Headlights. He pressed against the wall. But the man who stepped out wasn't a cop. "Jonathan? Who are you?" "Former judge. I was forced out when I tried to open the very case that now chases you." He handed him new shelter keys. "People are waking up, but now you must disappear. You're more valuable alive than dead." Jonathan vanished into the night. Now, he was a symbol. Less than 24 hours had passed since the broadcast, yet the entire nation was entering a phase of institutional destabilization. Governmental agencies, mainstream media, and law enforcement had all escalated to high alert. Jonathan, now a symbol of dissent and truth, found himself threatened not only by local authorities but by transnational intelligence and counterintelligence mechanisms. Within the safe house granted by the former judge, Jonathan reviewed the digital aftermath of his live stream. The data wasn't simply viral, it became the epicenter of an emerging cyber conflict. Hacker collectives, human rights networks, and international watchdogs were converging. He received an encrypted message. "There's a double agent among you. Trust no one, not even your allies." This information reframed everything. Jonathan realized that the battle had evolved beyond the streets. It had become a geopolitical struggle for narrative sovereignty. Meanwhile, behind closed doors in Washington, an emergency interagency meeting was held. CIA, NSA, Homeland Security, all demanded immediate access to Jonathan's evidence. An intelligence officer stated, "If we lose control over this narrative, we lose control over the country." That night, Connor returned, visibly shaken. He brought with him Iris, a former internal affairs data analyst. "I can't stay silent anymore," she said. "They killed my brother. I know where their main archival server is. We can shut them down." This revelation presented a high-risk opportunity. But that same night, Jonathan noticed an anomaly. His air-gapped laptop began flickering. Someone had breached their isolated network. "We've been found. They're closing in." A tactical withdrawal was initiated. As they escaped through maintenance corridors, the safe house was quietly surrounded. At first, stealth, then force. They intercepted a transmission, target likely accompanied, capture silently, no public fallout. But Jonathan anticipated such tactics. He activated a decoy protocol, feeding fake geolocation through an old military satellite array. While drones and agents moved on a ghost trail, the group slipped deeper into the city's urban maze. From this point forward, the stakes evolved. Jonathan was no longer merely a whistleblower. He became a threat to a system more afraid of truth than of war. "This is our shot." The judge pointed at the map on screen. A government building. The Internal Affairs Police Archive. It held everything: surveillance footage, blacklisted names, concealed reports. "If we get this data out, the world won't see fragments. They'll see the truth, the whole truth." The plan took 3 days. Every route, every system, every relay tested. Jonathan trusted 2 hackers, Aiden and Chris. Lucy's role, distract the guards, playing a journalist. The night before, silence filled the church basement. "If anyone wants out, say it now," Jonathan said. "We're already too deep." Aiden replied, "All or nothing." Lucy whispered, "They've already started erasing us." He looked at her. She didn't look back. Rendezvous point, abandoned bus station. 3 cars, secure radios. Everything went to hell 5 blocks from the target. On the roof, Chris yelled. "A sniper," red dot on Aiden's chest. "It's a trap." Explosions. Flashes. Sirens. Gunfire. Aiden fell. 1 shot. Head. Gone. Chris made a run, captured. The judge screamed into the radio, "We've been betrayed." They knew. Jonathan ran. Across construction zones. Through back alleys. Blood on his hands. He dropped into the subway. Heart pounding. Breath gone. Who betrayed us? Meanwhile, in the agency's command room, 1 dead, 1 captured, 3rd escaped. Lucy? Fed us everything, but she's hesitating. Too close to him. She's breaking. Lucy stood by a shattered window, shaking. Watched them carry Aiden's body away. He had smiled a few hours ago, given her chocolate to calm her nerves. Now he was gone. She reached to her mic and said nothing. Jonathan curled in the darkness, alone, holding what was left of the mission. Upstairs, a crowd gathered at the archive gates. They chanted for truth. Instead, they got riot cops. And in the sky, the first drone. Then thunder. Then blood. The next day, headlines screamed, "Massacre at Police HQ, 12 dead, 3 children." And Lucy knew she couldn't be their spy anymore. She had switched sides. Forever. "He survived?" Lucy asked. Her voice trembled. She stood before the colonel, the man who once made her shiver with a word. "Doesn't matter. We've got 1 in custody. That's enough to break the others." But Lucy was no longer listening. Her eyes fixed on the looping footage, the ambush, the blood. Aiden's smile, frozen forever. Inside headquarters, cracks began to show. Whispers filled the hallways. "We crossed the line. Too late to stop now." Logan, once a loyal agent, slammed a flash drive from a colleague's hand. "We killed children." It was a mob. It was a crowd of citizens. He stormed out. Behind him, silence. Then confusion. Then doubt. Underground, in a hidden apartment, Jonathan sat before an old TV. Beside him, Lena, a schoolteacher turned resistance writer. "It's collapsing," he said, "but if we stay silent now, they'll crush this too." He stood, took out an old phone, opened the camera. "You're really going to," Lena whispered. "It's time. Time to show them my face." 2 hours later, the video was online. "I'm Jonathan King. They tried to kill me. They betrayed me. But I'm alive. I speak not as a soldier. I speak as a citizen. You deserve the truth. Your police murder. Your judges look away. If you remain silent, you are part of the machine. Don't be silent." 3 million views overnight. News outlets picked it up. CNN, cautiously. YouTubers, boldly. "This may be the biggest whistleblowing in a decade," said one anchor. "Or it's bait," said another. "And the agency? Who leaked it? He couldn't have done this alone. Someone inside helped him." Lucy knew what she had to do. She went to the basement, opened a box she hadn't touched in years. Inside, classified files, hidden photos, her insurance. Now, she wasn't just a spy. She was a witness, and she was ready to speak. Final scene, night. Hundreds outside the courthouse. Jonathan's face on the screen. Suddenly, blackout. Screams. Confusion. Then, in the dark, Lucy's voice. "They can cut the light, but they can't cut the truth. They're already inside." The voice on the radio shook. Lucy stood by the window, watching the silent line of armed men approach. No insignias, no faces. Inside the building, Jonathan, Lena, 3 young hackers, and a cameraman still recording everything. "We have 5 minutes, Lucy said, "maybe less." Jonathan wiped blood from his temple. "Then let's speak fast," he said. "Is the camera rolling?" A nod. Jonathan stood before the lens. "This is my final message. If you're watching this, we lost this battle, but not the war." He spoke with calm fury. Each word, a bullet. "We only wanted truth, not vengeance, not violence. We wanted the world to hear you, to stop the beatings, the killings. to make you feel human again. But outside, there are men who see our voices as weapons. Lena handed out USBs. If we don't make it out, share this. Everywhere. These aren't just videos. They are proof. They stormed the building 7 minutes later. First, gas. Then, a blast. Screams. Gunshots. The camera falls, still recording. Lena at the door, USB in hand. Jonathan yells, "Run." Then, a flash. Silence. 2 days later, the video appears. Anonymous account. Title, Jonathan King's Final Letter. Millions watch. A week later, protests explode. Paris, Berlin, Mexico City, Cape Town, Moscow, Rio. Placards with Jonathan's face. Slogans, "You can't kill a voice. We are not your targets. To resist is to live." In the U.S., Senate hearings. Officers on trial. Lucy testifies. Documents, images, footage. She speaks slowly. Every sentence, a blade. And for the first time, the room is silent. Final scene, a young boy in a classroom. He opens a book titled Jonathan King, the Soldier Who Spoke. He looks out the window, hears distant sirens, and whispers, "I won't be silent."